He said, yes, I wore a wire. I was trying to bring down some bad guys. And I could even say I'll do it again if I have to. So that now he said that. He's mentioned that in the pulpit down there. So yeah, again, so what's
Now,
up?
hold on. Do you know why I changed the title to this right here?
What?
Remember our last interview on Umar Johnson? When I spoke about, let me put you on mute because we have feedback. When I spoke about Umar Johnson, and then I brought up Khalil Amani, and you said, "No, man, I don't want to do an interview with him." It was heard that, I'm paraphrasing. You can put it in your own words that he wore a wire and he was an FBI agent, and so now that's why I said, "Well, look at you hitting me off with Al Sharpton, and we supposed to be going down there, and you buddy with Al Sharpton." But Al Sharpton is known for wearing a wire and moving with the government. So that's why I changed it at the drop of the hat like that. Like I'm like, oh, okay. I got Herman Smalls. You got a lot of explaining to do. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead. Clear
Now,
that.
listen to what you just said. You came at your brother Amani because it was heard. This ain't heard, son. Now, this is he had said he was an informant.
Right. And you just said Al Sharpton said it too.
So then you blush. You said it was heard. Heard is a rumor. With Khalil, that ain't heard. That's a verified fact. He's a
Herman, I think you made a mistake and you're not listening. You just stated that Al Sharpton himself said it on the pulpit that he wore a wire for bad guys to try to stop some bad guys. Well, that's the same thing Khalid Omani said. He said he wore the wire to try to stop some bad things happening in the community. Same thing.
The only part you said it was heard. That was your first.
Well, knock out the herd. And let's say it happened. Once you said that Al Sharpton, said that Al Sharpton admitted it on the pulpit, let's knock out the herd now. Now it's a fact. Because you just said
Ben Yahweh and his organization. So let's see. All right. She getting big. Going. Thank you, sis.
Right, exactly, Bon Dog. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, yeah, now you said herd, take the herd out. Anyway, so rumor and fact. Now I will deal with now that's a bit. So you're making a valid point, but then you said a wire is a wire. You're right. Somebody's gonna wear a wire. They're gonna wear a wire. But you can't just you wore a wire here, you wore a wire. So that gets messy. Now I just try to stay as accurate as I can, and as far as what I've heard and what is fact. Now it's not a herd with Khalil Amani. He was an informant for the FBI against Yahweh Ben Yahweh and his organization. He was a member of that organization and turned state's evidence and provided testimony to lock up the main members of that organization. That's fact. That's no rumor I heard related to Reverend Al Sharpton. This is what I heard. Now, even there's a discrepancy in what was heard. You heard a wire, or he wore a wire for Asada Shakur. Those two were never in the same room. So it never took place. But now, was he approached about wearing the wire? That could have been a possibility. What I did hear, and I think it was a fact, I don't even want to say that, but he may have wore a wire related to Don King. That was what I heard in the ether. But Asada Shakur, that the elder Alabe Braff was one of the ones that just even that, I don't know if he stated as a fact. He said, brother,
400 pounds.
Okay, so he had to
just said that he did it. See? So come on, brother. Stop playing games, Herman.
I'm not playing games, but I like to move in order. You said it heard, in fact, is too different. So now, can I complete a thought, brother?
Yes,
it's already enough for us to hear each other. So, hey, if I'm starting out, at least let me, no, nobody's going to hear us. Okay? So let me finish my thought. Hey, hi. How are you, sis? Yeah, that's why it can get so messy, brother. That's why I want to be as clear as I can. Now, Don King, that's the why.
News, and then type in Al Sharpton
in it. So at this point, it's all rumor. It has to be classified as hearsay. But when you move in the activist community, your word is your bond, and your bond is your life, man. Because we know the detrimental effect of the legend in trying to set up.
Yeah. To try to stop some.
How you says now, it's not heard with Khalil Omani. He was an informant for the FBI against Yahweh Ben Yahweh and his organization. He was a member of that organization and turned state's evidence and provided testimony to lock up the main members of that organization. That's fact. That's no rumor I heard related to Reverend Al Sharpton. This is what I heard. Even there's a discrepancy in what was heard. You heard a wire, or he wore a wire for Asada Shakur. Those two was never in the same room. So it never took place. So now,
Hey everybody, it's Khalil Amani, and this came across my desk this morning. Sonnetter and a brother named Herman Smalls. My name came up as you heard, and I thought I would take a few minutes to deal with it. Let me start out by saying shout out to my dear brother Sonnetter. You're still my brother. You're always going to be my brother. I'll never speak evil against Sonnetter. Forget about it, people. If you want me to speak about Sonnetter bad, I'm not doing it. And I have my reasons, as I've explained in the past, that Sonnetter was one of the few people in the conscious community that stood up for me when I came out with my government informant story of the Yahweh cult. So I got mad respect, mad props, and mad love for Sonnetter for taking my position and understanding my position. Now this other guy you heard, Herman Smalls, it's a different subject. And so I just wanted to come on and clear up a little bit something they said. I want to clear it up. They said that their conversation was about Al Sharpton wearing a wire, Al Sharpton working for the FBI, Al Sharpton trying to help get Asada Shakur, who's in Cuba, as a political asylum, that she went down there during the Castro regime, and Castro gave her political asylum. Asada Shakur was with the Black Panthers and other movements. And so the conversation that they're having is about Al Sharpton, because it is said that Al Sharpton one time was working for the FBI and wore a wire to help bring down some mafiosos. And my dear brother Sonnetter, he has an issue with this particular guy who's about to go down and potentially interview Al Sharpton. And basically Sonnetter is trying to shine the light on the fact that you fuck with Al Sharpton, but Al Sharpton got a whole snitch and rat jacket that he wears. And they brought up my name as a snitch and a rat, that I too wore the snitch rat jacket. So Sonnetter fucks with me, a so-called rat, and this guy he's talking to, Herman Smalls, he fucks with Al Sharpton, an alleged rat. And so what Sonnetter is trying to do here is expose and enlighten this guy, Herman Smalls. Herman Smalls is from New York. He's one of those Afrocentric Pan-Africanist black nationalist types. You know, super pro-black beyond reason. Well, Sonetta is trying to let him know that the guy that you kind of endear yourself to, Reverend Al Sharpton, he's got a fishy background too. He's got an FBI background too. He's got a government and confidential informant background too, as I do. But the one thing that really made me do this video is that I heard Sonetta say, that they say that I wore a wire. Let me see if I can just, that's what this is really all about. Let me see if I can go and find it. Yeah, what happened to my volume? Oh, my volume's down.
Were you inaccurate with that? Or you said, oh, you wore it once, you may have?
It will pacify to people who do a lot of crazy stuff sometimes.
Wear a wire to entrap Assata Shakur? Yes.
It will pacify.
Because it's still got to be, no, there's a...
It's hard to find because I'm watching it live.
Standards. For example, like I was just saying, Al Sharpton. You say it's a rumor, but the rumor ain't been cleared. It's still out there where he was supposed.
You're a brother that's been...
I'm gonna find it where they mentioned about me wearing a wire. That rubbed me a little wrong there. His live is, or is it my computer?
See, now, I didn't hear that. Listen, think I'm not holding... That wasn't what I approached.
Not letting me.
He said, yes, I wore a wire. I was trying to bring down some bad guys. And I can even say I'll do it again.
For King.
Right, son.
You wear a wire for a condom.
Right, okay, but now you move, but you mix. Well, this is what I heard.
It's a rumor. People who...
Look at the stuff you've been on the recipient end of. Okay. They say some of the stuff that's been floating around about you, someone just took that as fact. You know, what would that do to your image? So let's not put someone in that position. But yes, that was something that was bountied around. I questions to answer. So I mean, how much do you want me to answer that, or do you think I'm not holding him to the same standard that I hold others to?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, Black president doubled the bounty on Assata Shakur's head. Now that's fact. That's not no encyclopedia on struggle. Older class has shrunk so much. But we still have a bunch alleged. Because even the information I'm going to get in the congregation most popular. Now, peace and Pan-Africanism, first of all.
Oh, I can't find
this thing, one of these eight.
But you heard it earlier. You said I wore a wire.
That's Sonetta. Why?
News, and then type in Al Sharpton, F.B.I., wear wire. That came up in the Daily News, brother.
But again, facts, Sonetta. Wear a wire to entrap Assata Shakur.
Yes, you never heard that, bro?
It's before that.
Again, I'm just giving it about as much as I can give on That's Sonetta. And I say that to say, I mean, especially.
Yeah, it's not letting me show that part. But that's why I'm making this video, because they both made illusions that I wore a wire for the FBI. And that's not true. I just wanted to, people make up their own narratives about you, and the shit is crazy.
Be an end up. They say some of the stuff that's been floating around about you, someone just took that as fact. You know, what would that do to your image? So let's not put someone in that position. But yes, that was something that was bountied around.
I think his live is freezing because I think he's about to go off live.
Let me put you on mute because we got feedback. When I spoke about Umar Johnson, and then I brought up Khalil Omani, and you said, "No, man, I don't want to do an interview with him." It was heard that, I'm paraphrasing. You can put it in your own words,
Here.
that he wore a wire and he was an FBI agent, and so now that's why I said,
See, Sinetter, he's saying that it was heard that I wore a wire and I was an FBI agent. That's what touched me wrong. Let me just go back and let him say that again.
And I don't even know if he has said yes, I did it. So let
Khalil Omani, Khalil.
down there. So yeah, again. So
Now, hold on. Do you know why I changed the title to this right here?
what?
Remember our last interview on Umar, and I said, when I spoke about, let me put you on mute because we got feedback. When I spoke about Umar Johnson, and then I brought up Khalil Omani, and you said, "No, man, I don't want to do an interview with him." It was heard that, I'm paraphrasing. You can put it in your own words, that he wore a wire and he was an FBI agent, and so now that's why I said, well, look at you hitting me off with Al Sharpton, and we supposed to be going down there, and you buddy with Al Sharpton. But Al Sharpton is known for wearing a wire.
Booyah!
And moving with the government. So that's what
this is about. So as I said earlier, Sinetter is my friend. And yes, I was a government informant. And what Sinetter is doing right now, he's challenging Brother Herman's hypocrisy. Because Brother Herman, I don't know if he's friends with Al Sharpton, but he's somewhat, I guess, in bed with Al Sharpton. And so what Sinetter is doing is using me as an analogy to say, hey, it's been said that Khalil Omani wore a wire and worked with the FBI. But look at you, Herman Smalls. Look at you, Herman Smalls. You're buddy with Al Sharpton, and it's also been said that he wore a wire and worked with the FBI. One more time, just let him say it.
Heard that, I'm powerful.
Down there. So yeah, again. So
Now, hold on. Do you know why I changed the title to this right here?
what?
Remember our last interview on Umar, and I said, when I spoke about, let me put you on mute because we got feedback. When I spoke about Umar Johnson, and then I brought up Khalil Omani, and you said, "No, man, I don't want to do an interview with him." It was heard that, I'm paraphrasing. You can put it in your own words, that he wore a wire and he was an FBI agent, and so now that's why I said, well, look at you hitting me off with Al Sharpton, and we supposed to be going down there, and you buddy with Al Sharpton. But Al Sharpton is known for wearing a wire.
Ooh. Okay, so let me just state for the record, Sinetter is not saying that I wore a wire. He's saying what the scuttlebutt is. And so evidently Sinetter had a conversation with this guy, Herman Smalls. Let me show you who he is so you can see. That's Herman Smalls. And Sinetter, I guess, talked to this guy here. He calls himself a guerrilla journalist. I'm a guerrilla journalist and I'm a gonzo journalist. How about that? But he calls himself a guerrilla journalist. And I guess in the past, Sinetter talked to him about doing an interview with me. And this guy was like, hell fucking no. That goddamn Khalil Omani, he's a rat snitch. He wore a wire. He worked for the FBI. He basically was shitting on my name. This is what Sinetter is saying. And so what Sinetter is saying now is, wait a minute. He's reminding this guy. Sinetter is reminding this guy that once upon a time, when I asked you to interview Khalil Omani, you were like, hell no, I don't fuck with rats and snitches. I don't fuck with government informants. He wore a wire. Blase, blase, blase. This is what Sonetta is telling him. But Sonetta goes on to say, but you and I are about to go down an interview with Al Sharpton. And isn't it true that Al Sharpton once wore a wire for the FBI? And it may even be true that Al Sharpton tried to help get Assata Shakur back on state sides so that she could go to jail, prison for life. Shout out to Sonetta. Oh yeah, he's shining the light on this pro-black niggas hypocrisy. I'm going to play it one more time, and then I'm going to go into talking about snitches and rats and shit for a moment.
Down there. So yeah, again, so let's just try inflating if you, because he never down there.
Lost it.
Heard that, you know.
Here we go.
Yeah.
What?
Remember our last interview on when I spoke about, let me put you on mute because we have feedback.
Listen.
When I spoke about Umar Johnson, and then I brought up Khalil Omani, and you said, no, man, I don't want to do an interview with him. It was heard that, you know, I'm paraphrasing, you can put it in your own words, that he wore a wire and he was an FBI agent. And so now that's why I said, well, look at you hitting me off with Al Sharpton, and we supposed to be going down there, and you buddy with Al Sharpton. But Al Sharpton is known for wearing a wire and moving with the government. So that's why I changed it at the drop of the hat like that. Like,
see, my brother Sonetta, I love Sonetta. My brother Sonetta. He's an equal opportunity ass kicker. And so let me just clear the record based on what Sonetta just said. You know, it was alleged that I wore a wire. No, my dear brother Sonetta, I never wore a wire. I'm not saying that you said that, but whatever they say out there, whatever they're saying about me, the narrative is wrong. I never wore a wire. For me to wear a wire, it means that I have to participate in the government's program, and I have to go back down there and act like I'm a Hebrew Israelite while I got this wire under my robe and seeing what information I could get. Now it sounds good. If my life were a movie, that would be a nice little, you know, embellishment, a nice little touch. To say that I left the Yahweh cults, I went to the FBI, and that the FBI persuaded me to put back on my turban and my robe and go back down to the Yahweh temple, wired the fuck up. That would be a nice touch for a movie. But the reality is, when I left the Yahweh cult, I never went back. I never participated in FBI surveillance and counterintelligence surveillance. That's not what I did. And the reality is, my story, my cult story, has been told on 6 national TV shows. Also, my cult story is in my cult story is in 2 books. My own book and a book written by a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. 2-time Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. That's right. And for my cooperation with the FBI, I said a book was written about my life in the Yahweh cult. And the woman who wrote this book, she won 2 Pulitzer Prizes in journalism for covering my cult. And she sent me this autographed copy, which I will show you, in 1994. And she writes, "To the bravest man I know, to the bravest man I know, Lloyd. Lloyd was my birth name. Before I was Khalil, I was Lloyd." I did a brave thing. I did a brave thing. I don't want to be here too long, but I want to let the record state that what Sonetta was intimating and saying that they were saying that I wore a wire like Al Sharpton, no, no, no. Khalil Amani never wore a wire. And there's nothing to lie about. My God, I'm out here telling you that I was a government informant. I'm out here telling you that I had to go into the witness protection program. So why would I leave out a little tiny fact like I wore a wire? If I wore one, I would simply say I wore a wire. But I did not wear a wire. When I left my religious cult, those Hebrew Israelites in Miami under Yahweh ben Yahweh, I left for good. I didn't want to look back. I didn't turn back. And I wanted nothing more to do with them. I wanted to go on with my life. But circumstances make a motherfucker address the shit situation. Anybody who leaves a cult, they don't want to deal with the backlash and go to the FBI. They want to move on. They want to let that experience be like a bad dream, a nightmare, if you will. But circumstances will make a man, a real man, stand up and address the situation. And it goes beyond all this pro-black, black power, black liberation, Afrocentric, Pan-Africanist, mumbo-jumbo, hogwash bullshit. Now this guy Herman Smalls, who rejected interviewing me because I worked for the FBI, although I didn't wear a wire, as Sonetta was saying, he rejected wanting to talk to me. But because Al Sharpton is a mega personality, nationally and internationally recognized figure, because Al Sharpton walked with Jesse Jackson, who was a student of Dr. Martin Luther King, because Al Sharpton is famous and been on TV and has his own action network and has political pull, this guy here, Herman Smalls, he's creaming in his panties to speak with this particular government informant, Al Sharpton. And what Sonetta, my brother, is doing is shining the light on him and letting him know, nigga, you're being double-tongued, you're being a double-minded man, you're being a fucking hypocrite. Khalil Amani is a little guy that worked for the FBI. Al Sharpton is a big fish who worked for the FBI. What's the difference? Why won't you speak to Khalil, but you'll speak to Al Sharpton? Oh, that's right. Khalil Amani, he was a snitch and a rat and a government informant against a black man, against a black organization. Al Sharpton, he was a snitch and a rat against, white people, the mafia. But Sonetta quickly says, wait a minute. The allegations go beyond Al Sharpton just being a government informant against the mafia. The allegations suggest that maybe he actually tried to get Black Panther, black woman, Assata Shakur out of Cuba and have her come back and face American justice and go to prison for the rest of her life. Sonetta is a smart man. Now, let me move into another area. I don't want to be too long. I've already done one video today that was an hour and a half long, so my voice is a little bit tired. But let me say this. Government informants are as old as man himself. And certainly, government informants are as old as all of the other black organizations that you can call or name. I am not the first government informant. Neither shall I be the last government informant. But this is what people like Herman Smalls has to understand about the government informant. This is something he refuses to even broach. Because this man, Herman Smalls, let me show you this guy here. This guy Herman Smalls, he's too black for his pants. He's super blackety black. But let me explain what niggas like that don't understand. Niggas like that, they want to be pro-black. They want to be Afrocentric. They want to be a Pan-Africanist. They want to be black liberation. But this is what niggas like this guy don't understand. You can't fuck over black people. And when it comes to the babies and children, and more specifically, my children, I'll burn the whole black nation down over my children. This is what niggas like Herman Smalls.
Battery 100%. Connected to...
And these other pro-black niggas don't understand. When you love your babies, when you love your children, when you love children, and when you love people, you will burn your fucking black nation down so that the babies will live. It's deeper than being a black nationalist or an Afrocentrist or a Pan-Africanist. Niggas like this, Herman Smalls, when black leaders abuse black people, they think that black people should stand down and accept their fucking abuse. It doesn't matter what Elijah Muhammad did. It doesn't matter what Yahweh did. It doesn't matter what Malachi Z. York did. They're black leaders. That's the kind of fucked up mentality that niggas like Herman Small buy into. Whatever their crimes are against black folk, don't go to the white man. That's what they believe. And so they look at people like me and they borrow other nationalities' understanding of criminality. The phrase rat and snitch, that's not black culture. This nigga wants to be an Afrocentrist, a Pan-Africanist mindset, using words like rat and snitch. Those come from the Italians. Those words are from the Italians. That is the Italian man's motif, an archetypal Benedict Arnold type of speech. We don't even have our own words to talk about black people who need to go to the government for assistance. We borrow from white people. We say we pro-black. We say we Afrocentric. We say we Pan-Africanist, but then we say rat and snitch. We borrow from white people, Italians and shit, mafiosos lingo. And we think we are fucking enlightened. And we think we blacker than thou. And we got nigritude. I don't apologize. Like he just said, Al Sharpton said he would do it again. If I had to relive and replay my whole life over with this Yahweh cult, I would do it exactly the same way. I would go straight to the FBI with my gasoline drawers on. I don't regret a motherfucking thing. I don't apologize for a motherfucking thing. And I say, fuck anybody who think I should not have ratted or snitched on a motherfucking black man who was abusing black people and black children. Motherfuck you, Herman Smalls. You see, what future black leaders have to understand is this. You can't fuck over black people in the name of blackness and negritude and blacker than thou and Pan-Africanist and Hebrew Israelitism. You can't fuck over black people and expect nobody is going to say, wait a fucking minute. Let me go to the good white people, the FBI, and get some motherfucking straightening. Let me tell you this, Herman Smalls, and anybody else who got a problem with the fact that I became a government informant. Let me be clear. My children, and the children in general, they trump all this black nationalist shit. Did you hear what I said? My fucking children, if they are in danger, I'll slit Jesus' throat to save my kids. Of course, I would never do nothing to Jesus, but you get my point. You can't tell a man, you can't tell a father, and you can't tell a parent how they must react when they know that their children and other children's lives are being violated, or will be violated, or might be violated. You can't do that, Herman Smalls. I don't give a fuck how much blackety black you got in you. You fuck with a man's children. You fuck with a parent's children. You fuck with a father's children. There's no level that a parent won't go to protect his babies. So I don't give a motherfuck about being part of any so-called black conscious community when it came to my children and the children that were down in Miami. What black leaders have to understand, you can't fuck over black people. That's what Malachi York found out. That's what Yahweh Ben Yahweh found out. And to some degree, that's what Elijah Muhammad found out. You see, niggas like Herman Smalls, they want to give black leaders passes on their indiscretions. The black leaders, they can violate black people. But then they want to hold the people up to a standard that they won't hold the leaders up to. You want to talk shit and say you won't interview me because I had FBI background? While at the same time, if you listen to this carefully, he goes on to praise Yahweh Ben Yahweh because Yahweh Ben Yahweh was giving awards by the mayors and governors, and they made it Yahweh Ben Yahweh Day. And he had buildings and real estate. See, niggas like this are the worst kinds of parents because they are blinded by black nationalism to the detriment of their own children. Now, I don't know if this nigga right here has ever been a part of any real movement. He called himself a guerrilla journalist. Guerrilla journalism means he's freestyling it. Guerrilla journalism means he ain't been to nobody's journalism school, college to really learn what journalism is about. He's a loose cannon. He's freeballing it. That's what he's saying. I don't know if he's ever been a part of the Black Panther Party or the Nation of Islam or any organization. But I have. I've been a part of a black organization that did me wrong, wrong, wrong. I don't make no excuses for what a 25-year-old Khalil Amani had to do. Oh no. I know all about J. Edgar Hoover's the COINTELPRO papers. I read all about, the COINTELPRO papers. I know all about J. Edgar Hoover and his plot to stop the rise of a black messiah. I know all about that. Read all about it. I read the Malcolm X files. I got all the books. I read the Judas Factor. I read all about it. Now, I didn't read these books when I was 25 years old. I did not know about this stuff at 25 years old. I knew about COINTELPRO because as a member of the Yahwehs, we were taught about J. Edgar Hoover's memo about the rise of a black messiah. We read that. We had copies of it. We knew about COINTELPRO, but I hadn't read any real serious literature on it until I became a real man after the age of 30. But I just want to say, if you, Herman Smalls, and any of you watching this who got an issue with black government informants, most of them became an informant because they were done wrong. Now, there are some government informants that are just hired to go in and infiltrate organizations, black organizations. They call them agent provocateurs, rabble rousers. We know the history. There are government informants that are put in place just to monitor what these particular groups are doing. And I get it. But I got a problem when people like Herman Smalls tried to lump all government informants in the same ball of wax as rats and snitches, and then tried to make distinctions between you can be a government informant like Al Sharpton against white people. He got no problem with that. But don't be a government informant against black people. No. But the bigger picture is this. Black leaders and black organizations, they have to come to a place in their maturation in history where they know if they fuck over black people, there's a great chance that one of those people from that organization is going to go to the FBI. That's on top of the fact that there probably will be government informants in the organization anyway. It's one thing when the FBI puts their own people in position in these organizations. You can't help that. You can't stop that. But it's another thing when people within the organization leave the organization and seek out the FBI because of that organization's wrongdoings. This is what future black leaders and future black organizations have to get through their heads. The government, the FBI, they can put all the rats and snitches and government informants in these organizations, but as long as these organizations keep their nose clean, abide by the laws of the land, then the government is wasting their time. But the fact of the matter is, these organizations, these groups, they be doing wicked shit. They do wicked shit, but then they cry like bitches for the residual fallout of the government informant that comes from the FBI and the government informant that comes from that group that goes to the FBI. You cry like bitches. You want people to allow you to continue to do them dirty, but then you cry like bitches when those people retaliate. That's why I love my brother. Let me change my heads. That's why I love my brother Whack 100. That's why I love my brother Whack 100. Because Whack 100 said some profound shit just the other day. And I'm going to let you hear it. Whack 100 says this: the Crips and the Bloods have homies. The Crips and the Bloods have big homies. And when the Crips and the Bloods, these gang members, want to go beat up somebody or murder somebody, they got big homies and homies that will go out and do the dirty deeds. And then Whack 100 tells the civilians, you don't have to stand for that shit. He tells the regular people who are not in gangs, everyday tax-paying American citizens, you don't have to be subjected to the big homies amongst the Crips and the Bloods. He told us that you got a big homie yourself. He went on to say, if you're a civilian, your big homie is law enforcement, the law, the FBI. Let me just play that. That's some smart shit. Listen to this. Whack 100.
He went to his big homie. I'm sorry. And they probably ain't gonna like it that I say this. Civilians, like gang members have big homies, they OGs, and they killers. Civilians, you got big homies too, called up in law. So when people come at y'all, you call your big homies. They do what a civilian's supposed to do. Hey, you ain't, if you call your big homies on the civilian, they can't get mad. So why you get mad when the civilians call their big homies on you? They are tax-paying citizens. We are in the United States of America, a land that's governed by law. Just because you say it's right on your block, don't mean it's right on their block.
Goddamn. Goddamn. How about that, Herman Smalls? I got a big homie, and his name is law. I have a big homie, and his name is American jurisprudence. I have a big homie, and his name is the local police department. I have a big homie, and his name is the FBI. Say it again, Whack 100.
He went to his big homie.
Proverbs 14:12 states, there's a way.
Let me get that commercial. Okay, commercial.
I'm sorry. And they probably ain't gonna like it that I say this. Civilians, like gang members have big homies, they OGs, and they killers. Civilians, you got big homies too, called up in law. So when people come at y'all, you call your big homies. They do what a civilian's supposed to do. Hey, you ain't, if you call your big homies on the civilian, they can't get mad. So why you get mad when the civilians call their big homies on you? They are tax-paying citizens. We are in the United States of America, a land that's governed by law. Just because you say it's right on your block, don't mean it's right on their block. No, this is what I understand. You've never heard tell you, Whack set me up to get rocked.
All right. I can take my Whack 100 head off again. Shout out to Whack 100. I got a big homie, and his name is Law. See, niggas like Herman Smalls, they in America, but they don't claim to be of America. I'm in America, and I'm of America. Now let me say this in closing, And I could do a whole lecture on this shit. Motherfuckers have been snitching and ratting since the early days of black liberation struggle. Did you all know? Did you all know that Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam, he had a son named Wallace D. Muhammad, who became Imam Warith Deen Muhammad? Did you know that Elijah Muhammad's biological son and child, the dude who became the head of the Nation of Islam in 1976 when the old man kicked the bucket, kicked rocks, took a dirt nap, died? Well, what about Elijah Muhammad's son? Did you know that Elijah Muhammad's son was a fucking FBI informant? See, niggas like this, they got disdain for what I did. I'm a little fish. But when Elijah Muhammad passed away in 1976, it was his son, Wallace D. Muhammad, who took the reins of the Nation of Islam. He would later leave the Nation of Islam and form the American Muslim Mission and become Warith Deen Muhammad. He was in charge of hundreds of thousands of Muslims in America. Did you know that while Wallace Muhammad, before he joined Orthodoxy, before he joined the Sunni Muslims, when his fucking daddy died, I'm talking about the guy they call the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I don't know how honorable he was. I don't think he was honorable at all. Not just the fact that he was fucking teenage girls, the fact that he had something to do with Malcolm X's death. Don't you think that a leader doesn't have full control and knowledge of what the fuck the parishioners are going to do to an individual? That's another story. But when Elijah Muhammad died, it was Wallace Muhammad, his son, who took over the reins of the Nation of Islam before Minister Louis Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan, he was waiting in the wings. But it was Wallace Muhammad who was a government informant. Big name niggas. Now let me just let you read something real quick. Because I know you talk about Khalil Amani, snitch, rat, government informant, but some of the biggest names in the black liberation struggle. Straight up rat, straight up government informant. And we need go no further than a book like this, The Original Man, The Life and Times of Elijah Muhammad. See Herman Smalls. You're not dealing with no any Rudy Poot ass snitch rat government informant. I'm a journalist too. I'm a guerrilla journalist and I'm a gonzo journalist. Go look that up, nigga. Gonzo. Gonzo. I take on both the G's, the guerrilla and the gonzo. Herman Smalls. Let's go read real quick. I said the book is called The Original Man, The Life and Times of Elijah Muhammad. It's by a dude named Claude Andrew Clegg III. You talking about Khalil Amani? You won't talk to me, but you will talk to Al Sharpton, and I bet you would talk to Wallace Dean Muhammad, who became the successor of Elijah Muhammad. But look right here. In desperation, Wallace, that is the son of Elijah Muhammad, Wallace Muhammad. In desperation, Wallace went to the local press and told everything about what his daddy was doing and what the Nation of Islam was doing. He went to the local press first. Nothing was too sensitive to disclose. See that? He said a lot of shit to the press. Nothing was too sensitive to disclose. In an expose for the Chicago Defender, Wallace, the son of Elijah Muhammad, accused the national leadership of the nation of being ruthless and frantic, and not beyond murdering dissidents. He's snitching like a motherfucker to the media first, but he's going to snitch to the FBI. But right here, he's just talking about the media. He told the Chicago Defender this shit. The members of my father's staff are guilty of some or all of these evils, including murder. Oh, including adultery and alcoholic consumption. He, the son of Elijah Muhammad, Wallace, went on to describe the beatings, lies, and hypocrisy that had marred the image of Elijah Muhammad and his organization. Cognizant that press attention was a temporary refuge at best, here it goes. Wallace Muhammad, the son of Elijah Muhammad, Wallace did not stop with just informing the local media. Hell no. On August 4th, Wallace, contacted the FBI and told them of his precarious earthly existence. He also talked to the Chicago police officials and his parole officer about the matter. Whew. Let me stop there. So what are you talking about? This was in the late 60s, early 70s. You see, niggas today, they get excited when they hear that there's a real live government informant on YouTube, Khalil Amani. And then niggas like Herman Smalls, oh, I ain't gonna interview that nigga. That nigga wore a wire for the FBI. I never wore a wire, nigga. But if I did, so fucking what? Look at the son of Elijah Muhammad, nigga. That nigga, when his fucking daddy died, he took the thrones and the reins of the Nation of Islam. He became the top nigga leader in America, a fucking government informant. He talked to the local press, the Chicago Defender. He talked to the Chicago Police Department. He talked to his parole officer. And he talked to the fucking F.B.I. And that nigga was sitting on millions of dollars as the leader of the Nation of Islam when Elijah Muhammad died. Furthermore, after he got fed up with that fake-ass form of Islam known as the Nation of Islam, with a phony leader named Farad Muhammad, he trashed that theological, ideological bullshit, and he looked to the east, and he became an official Sunni Muslim and changed his name from Wallace D. Muhammad to Warith Deen Muhammad. And he started his own Sunni Muslim organization known as the American Muslim Mission, and I think he changed it after that. But then he became the leader of hundreds of thousands of American Muslims, a government informant when he was dealing with the Nation of Islam. He snitched and he ratted on his daddy, and he snitched and ratted on his former organization. I don't hear this conversation on Sa Netter's channel. If you want to have an honest dialogue about snitches and rats and government informants, then let's have it. Let's have it. And then, Malcolm X. Enter Malcolm X. One of Malcolm X's right-hand men. One of Malcolm X's right-hand men. One of his security. A nigga named Eugene Roberts. He was in Malcolm X's inner circle. When Malcolm X was shot dead like a dog at the Autobahn ballroom, he had a fucking government informant right there by his side trying to give him mouth to mouth to a dying man whose lungs was infiltrated with blood. I said Eugene Roberts was a bona fide Chicago policeman / government informant. Right in Malcolm's inner circle with bow tie and bean pie. You want to talk about what I did? I didn't wear a wire and go back to Yahweh's group and play it like that. I left. And when I began to be a government informant, I walked into the FBI of my own free will, of my own volition, and got to spilling my guts about the shit I had known, heard, or whatever. I was asked, would you like to go back as a member and wear a wire and gather intelligence? And I told the FBI, kiss my ass, suck my dick. Basically, no. Because my organization, the Yahwehs, they were murderers. They cut niggas' heads off and niggas' ears off. And I was not about to be a casualty of the FBI's counterintelligence program, taking my black ass back down there and somebody strip my robe off and see a fucking wire taped to my chest. Oh no. I would be out of there. I told the FBI I would help them in whatever way I could, but I'm not going back down there and wearing no wire. So, Sanetta, all y'all, I never wore a wire. But Malcolm X had a government informant standing next to him when he was shot down like a dog. A member of the Nation of Islam, Eugene Roberts, was right there. And Eugene Roberts was such a fucking confidential informant, confidential source. He was such a rat and a snitch that long after the Nation of Islam days, when Malcolm was there, he left that particular assignment and he shows up. He shows up again as a government informant and a member of the Black Panther Party. And Eugene Roberts takes another government informant position. He goes from the Nation of Islam, snitching and ratting, and government informant, even though he was a real live Chicago policeman. He finished that assignment with Malcolm, and then in the late 60s, early 70s, he joins himself onto the Black Panther Party, and he helps bring down other Black Panther Party members. That's facts. You can Google Eugene Roberts. And so as I close, what black leaders and what black organizations have to do, they have to shed themselves of all of the evil, vile, crazy shit that they were raised up in this white man's world. If you're going to be a black leader, you have got to make a concerted effort not to fuck with or fuck over black people. And if you do that, you will only have to worry about the government informants that the FBI sends in just to keep tabs. But if your nose is clean, you don't have to worry about the Khalil Amanis of the world. You just don't have to worry about us. We aren't going to snitch just to snitch. And if you are living by the laws of America, it doesn't matter what a government informant says or does. If you're doing right, they have nothing on you. And that's a fact. And with that, I'm Khalil Amani. Again, shout out to my brother Sonetter. Fuck Herman Smalls. And shout out to the rest of y'all. I love you all for a better world. Peace.